So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to after party. Like, I'll follow you down there. So I drive down to this little after party. It's a little community centre, little conference centre, and I'm standing outside the conference centre thinking, shall I go in or not? No one knows. It's going to be fine. No one's going to notice. I'm walking towards the front door. No one's going to notice. No one's going to notice. I open the community centre door, and as I step in, I am literally the only white dude in the room. Everyone noticed. Everyone. I'm like, oh jeez. Right? The groom, who I loosely know, like looks at me so confused, like, he's thinking, what's he doing here, Matt? You weren't invited here. He comes over to me, he's like, Samuel! And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the most awkward thing. He doesn't tell me I shouldn't be here. He kind of just like, his confusion goes to acceptance. He's like, Samuel, hi, go have yourself to the buffet. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm standing at this buffet to this uninvited African party with this little plastic plate thinking, I am an idiot, what am I doing here? And I'm there standing in the queue, and I see on a little table, I see this lady. I'm like, even better than I remember. Oh my goodness, she's right there. I want to go and talk to her. And I'm just going to find out her name and have a little chat to see what happens. And I'm there and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go walk to her. Now there's lots of chairs in between and stuff, but I start walking over towards the table, and I'm like, do you mind just moving your chair just a little, excuse me? And I'm making a commotion, right? And I'm thinking, I suddenly have this horrible dread, and I think when I get to the table, what's going to happen? I want to be like, hey, and she's going to be like, hi. And I want to be like, excuse me. Like, it's going to be dreadful. I have this horrible dread, and I get to the table, I'm like, this is going to be really awkward, and I sit down, and I start talking to her, and it's like, I'm like, and anyway, she's cool. I say, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? And we start chatting. Anyway, she says that she's from Leeds. I'm like, Leeds? Like L-E-E-D-S, Leeds? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's my name! She's like, oh yeah, cool. I'm like, oh man. So we get chatting. I'm chatting to her for like an hour, and I really like her. I said, hey, if I'm ever in Leeds, maybe I can take you out for dinner. She says, yes. I'm like, man, wow. Took her out for dinner the following week. 3 months later, I am madly in love. And fast forward 9 months thereafter, me and Amanda get married. The girl was Amanda. And then fast forward another 12 months, she gets pregnant. We have our first child, Ruby Joy. Ruby Joy, man, brought so much joy to my life and Amanda's life. Now I've got 3 kids. You know, we just had we've got Ruby, we've got Luke, and we've got Jessica. And sometimes I just look at my kids, I look at Amanda with even more love today than I even had then. And I'm just thinking, what would have happened if I just hadn't walked across the room? That was it. They'd walk across the room. What would have happened if I'd have listened to my little voices saying, she's probably got a boyfriend, you're a dummy. In fact, I didn't have a little voice, I had a whole orchestra of voices at the time. What would have happened? And it's just one of those, that was one of those moments that I call a red diamond moment. You know, I call it a red diamond moment. An opportunity that presents itself, you don't know how it could shape the rest of your life until you go, until you say yes, until you step out. And again, that's what now when I live my life, every time an opportunity comes along, a relationship comes along, like a business relationship, a joint venture, a meeting, a training session. I can look at all my whole life. How I became friends with Grant Cardone, how I started doing dinners and stuff with Robert Kiyosaki, my development deals that I've got, some of my large deals, my castle that I own. My castle, same story, red diamond moment. He was like, oh, yesterday, you know you bidded at the auction for that castle? Yeah. Or the winning bidder can't get his funds together. We want to give you an opportunity today. Do you want to put down the deposit? Yeah, okay, I will. And now as a result, we bought the castle for £800,000. The gross development value is 6.35 million. You know, I'm like, everyone was saying, oh, it's a money pit. I'm like, damn right it's a money pit. I made a lot of it. I mean, I'm spending 3 million on it. I bought it for 800,000. The GDV is 6.35 million, and I'm getting more planning permission for more houses to push that up to 8 million. But I was afraid. I was afraid to do it. I was nervous. And you know what? One of the things I realized really interesting is I realized that nervousness Some of you guys have been nervous today. Gio, that came on stage and Liv, you guys were nervous. Some of you guys at the back of the room, Radio Stream for Further Training, were nervous. Some of you were nervous just to come into this event. Some of you were nervous booking on, but more nervous when you were standing in the foyer. Nervous about coming in, what to expect. But one of the things I realized is that nervousness and excitement are the same friggin' thing. Before you go on a roller coaster and you're excited, but you're also nervous. That feeling? I love that feeling. Some of you need to start getting more nervous. Some of you need to start getting more uncomfortable. I'm always nervous. I'm always putting myself in situations where I'm like, out my depth. And then what happens is I push myself outside my depth and I grow. And I keep growing and I keep growing and I keep growing, and that's how I get wealthy. What most people do, most poor people, is they don't stretch themselves and they don't grow, and then they stay the same. But if you're not growing, if a flower is not growing, then it's dying. So you're either growing and you're getting better, or you're dying and you're getting worse. And I'm glad to be in a room of 150 people who are growing and who are getting better. And a lot of people came up to me in the last break that we just had, and they were saying, and it's so good speaking to people who are making money, man. I've been speaking to people in the break, some of you guys. I'm so honoured to be part of your journey. Some of you guys are saying you do rent-to-rent and lease options. It's incredible, man. You know who you're at. And others that haven't said that to me yet. I mean, also respect for bringing your son, bro. Respect. How old are you? 15. Respect, man. Respect. In the world, it's like the crab bucket. Everyone's trying to pull you down because you know what, your enemies want you to fail, yeah? Your enemies want you to fail. I don't have any enemies. If you don't have any enemies, you're doing nothing. I have enemies. You should have enemies. An enemy is a competitor. If you're not disrupting the marketplace, then everyone will just think, great, you're fine. You need to have enemies. As soon as you start leaving your job and setting up business and packaging and selling deals and joint venturing, people are going to start not liking you. You're going to have enemies, and your enemies will want you to fail. Will your friends want you to fail? Yeah, they'll want you to fail as well. Your friends will want you to win unless you start doing better than they are doing. So your friend will want to see you win, but not win. So what your friends will do is they'll be like, yeah man, they'll cheer, and then they'll try and hold you back. But they don't want you to do better than them. So what's the solution? Find new friends that are ahead of you. And they'll pull you up. And then when they pull you up, then go find some new friends. I mean, you might be like, Samuel, no, you treat people like a stepping stone or something. It's not my fault. I don't want to hang around people that don't want me to succeed. I'm only going to hang around people that want to pull me up. I refuse to be in a crab bucket. And your environment is stronger than your willpower. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Remember that. If you're not hanging around people that are winning, you're going to really struggle. Because I remember, I've met so many good people. I remember when I met Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they introduced him on stage and said that he was a self-made millionaire, blah, 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 blah. And when I spoke to him in the break, briefly, you guys know Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He said that he cringed when they said that he was self-made. I'm like, what do you mean you cringed when they said you were self-made? You are self-made. You started with nothing from a foreign country. You went to America with nothing. You built everything from scratch. He said, yeah, I didn't start with any money. No one gave me any money. But Samuel, let me tell you something. He said, no one's self-made. I am where I am because people put opportunities in front of me and supported me, and I just walked through the door. I'm like, wow, that's called humility.